Hey guys, this is Cullen Smith. Welcome back to Lifting the Veil. I want to cover some quick syncs regarding Chester Bennington, the lead singer of Linkin Park's death. And usually I don't give a shit or cover anything like this on my channel unless it has more far-reaching and more profound implications, which this one definitely does. The one thing I love is correspondence and symbolism, and so this one definitely has a lot of that going on. So I want to cover some of that involving the whole Pedophile and the Pedogate scandal involving the highest ranks of government officials. So it's being parroted and rumored that Chester Bennington of Linkin Park was John Podesta's bastard child. And the reason for this speculation and this rumor, whether this is true or not, I haven't seen any evidence, and I doubt there is any evidence of this out there. But if anyone has any evidence, please feel free to share it with me or comment it, link it down below or comment down below. But the reason for this speculation is specifically because of the identical appearance of Chester Bennington to John Podesta. I mean, look at the appearance of these two. It is beyond shocking. I mean, in every aspect. I mean, but the odd thing is that even a parent-to-child relationship isn't that identical in physical appearance. Usually, I mean, this is more. They're more like twins. Like it's absolutely insane. This is crazy. Like John Podesta literally looks like he's Chester Bennington in about 20 years. He literally looks like a time warp or something insane. I mean, from the jawline to the facial hair features, the patterns of the facial hair, to the jawline, to the eyes, the nose, the facial structure is beyond identical. I mean, it's literally like John Podesta is a future time warp of Chester Bennington. It's absolutely insane. And what's even crazier is when you compare Chester Bennington and his brother to the likeness of John Podesta and Tony Podesta. Both of their similarities are insane. I mean, the correspondence is absolutely shocking. It's just mind-blowing. And so that doesn't suggest anything in and of itself. It's just something that boggles the mind. It's something that's definitely just, I mean, it's mind-blowing, the similarities. So if you're not yet aware of the implications of John and Tony Podesta involved in high-level child trafficking, even if Podesta has no relation to Chester Bennington, the sync between the two is still mind-blowing. It's staggering. This all is involved in the WikiLeaks scandals and the Pedogate scandal of the emails from Podesta to Hillary Clinton, implicating the Clinton Foundation in all of this as well. Chester Bennington's father was a police detective who worked with child sex abuse cases. Bennington's parents divorced when he was 11 years old, and his father gained custody of him. So his father, the child sex abuse detective, gains custody of Chester Bennington. Bennington revealed that he had suffered sexual abuse from an older male when he was 7 years old. He later revealed the abuser's identity to his father, but the sexual molestation abuse case was never pursued. Bennington was sexually abused by an older male who worked in a position of power. John Podesta is in a position of power. and has been accused of sexual abuse on multiple implications involving high levels of child trafficking and pedophilia, and that this is something that likely could have been recently revealed to Chester, and upon further investigation into this, he stumbled upon corruption and the child trafficking involved in high levels of government involving these public officials.
Kendall claims that she was purchased by wealthy clients to do anything they pleased.
I was given to the man who owns me by my birth parents, and I was forced to have sex with clients.
By a very large, very dangerous organization.
My whole life I traveled all over the world and would go to some of the biggest events to meet clients.
On the outside, her clients were pillars of their communities.
They were in law enforcement, doctors, psychiatrists, judges, politicians, even people who owned sports teams. They were all extremely rich and prominent members of society. I attended many parties for people who had just got elected into office.
But behind closed doors, she says they were sinister and evil human beings.
Sometimes they would bring little boys into the room and they would make me have sex with them. Many of the boys were as young as 5, even allowed to smother me with a pillow or plastic bag while having sex with me.
Now, sometimes she was used as arm candy, others for very sick games.
Some clients own their own island or a big piece of land.
Former President Bill Clinton, who reportedly took multiple trips to Epstein's private island. You see it here. It's called Little St. James.
And they would buy us just to hunt us.
Now, according to testimony in the lawsuit, at least one woman on that compound was there unwillingly. She is referred to as Jane Doe 102. She was forced to live as one of Epstein's underage sex slaves for years and was forced to have sex with politicians, businessmen, royalty, people working in academics, etc.
This Epstein is just an absolute disgusting pig. I mean, to be messing around with underage girls, it's just unbelievable.
According to the UK Daily Mail, the lawsuit claims that Clinton was friends with an unnamed woman who kept images of naked underage children on her computer, helped to recruit underage children for Epstein, and photographed underage females in sexually explicit poses. Now, while Clinton cut off ties with Epstein, this woman's abuses apparently did not end their relationship, as she was reportedly one of the 400 guests at Chelsea Clinton's 2010 wedding.
It's amazing that this happened and came to light, and I don't think Bill Clinton would ever want to be involved with an underage girl, but the fact that it's happening in front of his eyes and that the Secret Service guys didn't do something about it is shocking.
Very sick games.
He would make me be a dog, made me eat feces. I was kept in a cage. Sometimes he would electrocute me as punishment.
You said you could tell the difference between girls that were born into it, according to him, versus those that were kidnapped.
The girls that weren't born into it, they had a harder time. They were always kept tied up or in cages, and they cried a lot.
Now, you weren't allowed to use the word trafficked, correct? Why is that?
I was made for that, and trafficking is when girls who aren't made for that get kidnapped or sold into it.
Did he tell you how you came to be with him?
My parents had me for him.
That they actually had you on purpose for him?
Yeah.
Do you remember how old you were when you first had sex?
I was used to it by the time I was 2.
I 100% believe that you have been exploited. I 100% believe that you have been hurt, that you have been beaten, that you have been abused.
What has been the biggest scandal in the UK since World War II has now come to the US, and it may involve former President Bill Clinton. The story surrounds this man, billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, who served time in 2008 for soliciting prostitution. That charge came as part of a plea deal. It all began in 2005 when Epstein was investigated after a woman reported that he paid her 14-year-old daughter $300 for sex. And since that initial claim, there have been more than 40 women who have come forward with claims that Epstein is a sexual predator and that he not only abused them, but shared them with famous and powerful friends. But this story is much bigger than just former President Clinton. Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, is being connected to this scandal as well. In 2001, Virginia Roberts, a 17-year-old who now claims to have been held as Epstein's sex slave, was introduced to Prince Andrew while staying at a London home. Ms. Roberts claims that she was paid £10,000 as a reward for having sex with Prince Andrew by Epstein.
Chester Bennington and Lincoln Park received a funding grant from the Clinton Foundation as a result of John Podesta's influence.
President Clinton was going to come and visit our site here in Port-au-Prince. His foundation gave us a grant last year.
Chester possibly then looked into the influence of John Podesta and realized the involvement in the Pedogate scandal and the child trafficking involvement of the Clinton Foundation in Haiti.
Beyond the neglect, something far more nefarious was occurring. Haitian children were disappearing. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation reported United Nations officials say children have gone missing from hospitals in Haiti since the devastating January 12th earthquake, raising fears of trafficking. We have documented around 15 cases of children disappearing from hospitals and not with their own family at the time, said UNICEF advisor Jean-Luc Legrand. Trafficking networks were springing into action immediately after the disaster and taking advantage of the weakness of local authorities and relief coordination to kidnap children and get them out of the country, reported the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. One such person arrested for trafficking was New Life Child's refuge owner Laura Silsby, who, according to WikiLeaks documents, Hillary Clinton had been very interested in 9 years before the 2010 Haitian earthquake, and it was Bill Clinton that used his former presidential weight to have Silsby essentially freed. Oddly enough, on November 14th, the Laboratory to Combat Human Trafficking reported that Monica Peterson, investigating the Clintons' involvement in Haiti for the Human Trafficking Center, mysteriously died the day before. Peterson had been highly critical of the Clinton Foundation, writing on her blog, "Hillary Clinton should get far more scrutiny for her scandalous conduct in Haiti. From rigging the March 2011 presidential election for her favored candidate Michael Sweet Mickey Martelli, supporter of the CIA-created death squad, to ensuring that her brother Tony Rodham and a company that barely exists got a sweetheart gold mine concession in Haiti that royally cheated the state of Haiti." In a letter to her friend, Peterson had uncovered 2 huge trafficking scandals and a social displacement scandal with billions in unaccounted earthquake aid leading directly back to the Clintons. She had just begun investigating the correlation regarding the Clinton Foundation's Caracol Industrial Park complex and its connection to a human trafficking network when her life was mysteriously cut short. Something doesn't add up. John Bound for Infowars.com.
And the whole Pedogate and Pizzagate scandal goes so much deeper, and I personally don't have the time to go into any of that. But if you have more to add to that, please feel free to share that with me or link that down below as well.
But an armed man decided to investigate a DC area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate? And are there any actual facts to support the story? I've got to warn you, what we're going to talk about tonight will be disturbing to some people. But this is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Pizzagate actually comes from the WikiLeaks release of hacked emails from Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. In all, WikiLeaks dumped around 50,000 email messages, and it was from those emails that the claims that John Podesta may be part of a child sex trafficking ring come from. Now, to be clear, not one single email in the Podesta emails discusses child sex trafficking or pedophilia. That is a fact. But there are dozens of what seem to be strangely worded emails dealing with pizza and handkerchiefs. Self-described online investigators say that those words in the emails about pizza and the talk of handkerchiefs is code language used by pedophiles. So how did a DC pizza parlor get pulled into the story? Well, again, read any mainstream report and they indicate that Comet Ping Pong Pizza was somehow linked to this fake story and has no relation to anyone involved. But the truth is, that's not true either. What media is ignoring is that the Comet Ping Pong Pizza place is actually referenced in the Podesta emails at least a dozen or so times, and that the owner of that place, James Alfantis, is a friend of John Podesta. He was actually named, this is kind of strange, by GQ magazine as one of the top 50 most powerful people in Washington. Yes, we're talking about a pizza parlor owner. Now let's talk facts here. There is no solid evidence that Comet Ping Pong Pizza is being used to run a child sex trafficking ring. But there are some very strange connections between Comet Ping Pong Pizza and a second pizza place 2 doors over, Podesta Pizza, and the accusations of pedophilia. Now this is where things start to get strange when you research this story. Now to begin, I need to show you a 2007 unclassified FBI document. That document, according to the FBI, contains commonly used symbols by pedophiles to express their preference in children. I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Podesta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly you can see that the Podesta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Podesta Pizza changed their logo, and there it is now. They removed the triangle. Also, Comet Ping Pong, owned by Alphantis, is the place where a number of performance artists perform regularly. 2 of the groups that perform there, who you can see advertised, by the way, on this Comet Ping Pong poster, include a group called Heavy Breathing and another group called Sex Stains. Well, if you check out the YouTube videos by these bands, Heavy Breathing has songs that do joke about pedophilia, and the band Sex Stains has a video that includes, and you see it right there, that same boy lover symbol. It's nearly identical to the one that the FBI does say is a pedophile code symbol for boy love. As I said, there are some strange things there. As for the owner of the pizza place, James Alphantis, well, he was one time in a relationship with David Brock, who ran Media Matters for America. Well, since Pizzagate began to blow up online, he has made his Instagram profile, Jimmy Comet, private. But an archive search of Instagram reveals a number of strange photographs and words with strange and disturbing images associated with them. Look, to the point where we can't show you those pictures. We're not even going to describe them to you because some viewers would find it too disturbing to share on TV. Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember, it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago. He was referred to by the judge as a serial child molester. According to the Washington Post, visitors to Tony Podesta's home in Falls Church got an eyeful when they walked into a bedroom at the Podesta residence hung with multiple color pictures by Katie Grannon, a photographer known for documentary-style pictures of naked teenagers in their parents' suburban homes. And to be clear, that just begins to scratch the surface of how strange some of this stuff is. And bear in mind, we can't get into a lot of the real details of it because of the limits on broadcasting this on television. But it is some very strange stuff. Now keep in mind, again, there is no proof here that there is a child sex ring being operated out of a DC pizza parlor. Investigators have already proven there's nothing to the story, right? Well, actually, no. And that's what you need to know. For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this. Not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place?
Chester's cause of death was allegedly suicide, hung from his doorway, resulting from his depression from his past of abuse. Chester died on July 20th, which numerically reduces to 7-2. Or 711, 711. 711 numerologically renders 911, as Sept is 7, and Sept is the original 7th month of the Hebrew calendar, Septum. Hence 911 and 711 are interchangeable, and hence 9/11, September 11th, and July 20th, or 7/11, July 11th, are interchangeable as ritual dates as well in Kabbalistic occultism.
And it's very close to my heart because I was down there and I watch our police and our firemen down on 7/11 down at the World Trade Center right after it came down. And down on 7/11 down at the World Trade Center right after it came down. And down on 7/11 down at the World Trade Center right after it came down.
Because as most of you know and have been watching my videos over the years, that I am the one that has been exposing the fact that 9/11 is 7/11. I have made countless videos over the years about it. And, of course, my countless videos always include 7/11, because September 11th is known as 9/11, but it's really 7/11, because Sept is 7, September, the 7th month, thus the division of the year between the 1 and the 7, Aries, and September, or Libra. So this is the time of the equinox. And as I explained in my various videos, is that I'm the one that discovered that on September 11th in 1609, Henry Hudson is the one that sailed into the bay, Manhattan Bay, on September 11th. So the World Trade Center, as I explained, the pillars that burned down is just like a birthday ritual. You can watch my videos on that subject if you like. And the fact is that September, October, November, and December is 7, 8, 9, 10. It's what we still refer to our months even today, even though we have 12. Because September, October, November, December is 7, 8, 9, 10. Oct is 8, 9 is novum, and the decim is the 10. So, you see, Donald Trump knew exactly what he was saying when he used the term 7/11. As I've been showing in my videos for over 10 years now, 7/11 is the true key numerology here. Very strange indeed. It was the same story when I made my video about Beyonce and 7/11, where she admits she called it 7/11, and I exposed the truth about what it really means, 7/11, and you know, people laughed, and I think now people are starting to understand exactly what I've been saying since day one.
July 20th was a full moon, which, as I've covered in some of my previous videos, as well as my friend Christopher Lord at Truthersy House of Wisdom covers the important occult significance, the serious satanic ritual significance of the moon phases in what's known as Dionic witchcraft or Illuminati witchcraft, which is prominent in most lunar sects such as Judaism, Dionic witchcraft, as well as symbolic ritualistic or satanic ritualistic events involving significant aspects of the lunar phases, such as the first and last quarter moon phase, or the full moon and the black moon, or the new moon. And if you're new to my channel, you're not going to understand anything that I'm talking about, and it's going to sound crazy. So go back and see at least some of my videos. One of the videos to cover some of this material is my Decoding the Syrian Isis Ritual of Osiris. Don't forget about Sirius, the dog star, and the dog days of summer, which are the hottest days of the year. And Sirius, or Sothis, was known as the Scorcher, which brought death and pestilence during the dog days, or during the scorching season of Leo. During the Sothic cycle, a heliacal rise of Sirius was recorded as having happened on the Egyptian New Year's Day, is astronomically calculated as a definite July 20th. which is the Egyptian New Year's Day. July 20th, or 7/2, 7/11, 7/11 is also coincidentally Chris Cornell's birthday. Sirius the Scorcher is the Black Star, or the Black Sun, again known to have wrought pestilence and death. The reaping of the dog days of summer during the hottest days of the year. On July 20th, of the Black Star, the Black Dog Star, the Black Sun, which ties directly in with my Syrian Isis ritual of Osiris video and the Black Star video that I did back in December. So it's crazy, this is literally like a rehashing of that video that I did back in December for the assassination of the Turkish ambassador to Russia, which I will be going into more in depth into Sirius and the Black Star and the Black Hole Sun in my next upcoming full presentation on the Black Star Code and David Bowie, which is going to blow your mind and blow this whole thing wide open. So Chester Bennington dies on Chris Cornell's birthday. Chris Cornell is an entirely other sync in itself, which again I don't really feel like going through an entire thing on Chris Cornell here either, but Chris Cornell is a performance name, taking on a play of the archetypal character of Christ, and the corn of El, the corn of Saturn, the ancient harvest agricultural fertility god of corn, of the Masonic cornerstone of Cornell University. El, or Kronos, or Saturn, is the mythological correspondence of the Norse god Odin, who is the ruler of the underworld, the death of the season, the agricultural harvest lord at the end of the season, who is hung inverted on the cross, or the tree of life, or the tree of death. This is why the slain god is always depicted as being crucified on the tree. We find this in Conan the Barbarian, crucified upon the tree of woe. Again, echoing this mythology of Woden, crucified upon the tree, upon the Yggdrasil tree. And again, the various depictions of Odin are also depicted as the hanged man, again depicting the death of the season, the underworld of Saturn, the hanged lord hanged upside down upon the cross, what is known as St. Andrew's cross, the cross of the upside down crucifixion. Which again is the essence of the hanged man. So again, the path of the fool of Jesus throughout the year, from the spring to the winter, and on and on and on throughout the path of the sun. So from resurrection from death to resurrection and eternal life. Which is why Chris Cornell, or Christ Corn of El, Christ Cornell, is implicated and always symbolically shown with the symbols of Saturn as well as Christ involved in his musical artwork, such as his song Jesus Christ pose. And hence Christ Cornell always takes the Jesus Christ pose. Both Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington's cause of suicide is the exact same. Hung from the doorway. The doorway is symbolic of a gateway between realms, between life and death, between dimensions, if you will, from one world to another, from one life to another. The rumor has it that both Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington, who are good friends, were both working for the betterment of child abuse and child welfare cases, and supposedly were both actively working and about to blow the lid open on the pedogate child trafficking rings in high levels of government. And thus both Chester Bennington's wife and Chris Cornell's wife have spoken out saying that these were not suicides whatsoever, that they were murders, they were hits, a ritual sacrifice, if you will, a silencing. And as I've mentioned before on my channel, is that the ritual sacrifice always occurs on a significant lunar or solar or astrological date in order to manifest significance into the physical world using astrological and astronomical influence. And when we look at the symbolism of the Lincoln Park logo, is the exact same symbol of the triangular spiral of FBI's declassified symbols, well known for child trafficking, of the FBI declassified boy love logo of the triangular spiral revealed in the WikiLeaks Pedogate scandal. From the official unclassified law enforcement sensitive FBI intelligence bulletin, the symbols and logos used by pedophiles to identify their sexual preferences use the logo of the little boy lover The boy lover logo is a small blue spiral-shaped triangle surrounded by a larger triangle, whereby the small triangle represents a small boy and the larger triangle represents the adult man. A variation of the boy logo is the little boy lover logo. In other words, an extremely young boy, in other words, little baby lovers, which also embodies the small spiral-shaped triangle within a larger triangle. However, the concerns of the little boy logo are rounded to resemble a scribbling by a young child. So if you guys remember from my Symbols of Power series, it's critical to understand that the significance of the smaller triangle encompassed within the larger triangle and the triangular spiral represents the urogenital triangle region, which is the genital region, the pelvic bones, known as the pubic archway. Again, I covered all of this in my Symbols of Power series. So please go back and view that entire series, especially part 3 is the most significant, and that's the one that hasn't gotten any attention. But so the triangular spiral, again, as I've covered in the previous series, represents the twin opposing vortices of sex magic of creation of the universe. The twin opposing vortices which oppose each other. So the upward facing triangle is the masculine principle, representing the element of fire, which is the male, aka the boy love logo. So the larger triangle, which represents the adult male urogenital triangle, encompassed with the little boy's urogenital triangle encompassed within it. So the symbol is literally referring to a man having sex with a small boy. In other words, the two urogenital triangle regions coming together. And again, as I mentioned, with the hands, the position of the hands. And what I'm pointing at here is actually the sphincter muscles, which again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, the sphincter, which relates to sphinx, comes from etymological roots of... it's all encoded there in just the symbols alone. The very similar synchronistic symbolism of Soundgarden with the triangular spiral, the triangular vortex, implicating Christ Cornell with the black hole sun. And I still haven't produced my Black Star Code presentation, but you can find the full article, which I will also link in the descriptions down below. And definitely look out for that presentation in the future because it's going to blow the entire black hole sun symbolism wide open. These high-level child trafficking organizations and rings always operate, the Illuminati always operates around the children, around isolating the children. Hence the symbolism of Hollywood that will always show you the orphan, the significance of the orphan, and getting the child alone with an adult.
So I have explained countless times about how the Illuminati always uses the theme of the orphan. So if you watch your Hollywood films, you'll notice that the character is almost always an orphan. And yes, even Hitler and Manson were also orphans. And yes, even Jesus. And that's exactly why Peter Pan is also an orphan.
Peter, it's your file. Will you read it? It's from your mum.
My dearest Peter, I long for the day that I can come back for you and explain everything. You are extraordinary, more than you can imagine. I promise that you will see me again.
Now watch as the butt pirates come and kidnap the children.
Well. The princess, I presume.
Oh, well, I'm actually just a minor, but I appreciate the compliment.
Bishop.
Back to Johnny, who wears the pinky ring. You will now have the eye to see the truth about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where once again we find he's wearing the top hat of the Illuminati's jester character, the evil conniving trickster, with his one eye of the Illuminati. So here is the truth that lies between the red and the white pillars, like the pillars of Sodom and Gomorrah. So most people would assume that Charlie is an innocent word, but you'll notice the word lie that lies within. And of course, Charlie actually means the charlatan liar. The Charon, or the Karen, ferried the dead. So now you understand about Charlie Bucket. Remember the bucket of the gay pirate symbolism? Because they want to swash his bucket. And that's exactly why he is the golden ticket. So that's why this one-eyed lying trickster is playing the role of Willy Wonka, the one-eyed monster. So I think you know where these perverted minds are headed. It wouldn't take a genius to figure out what the Chocolate Factory is all about. The Chocolate Factory of the children who provide the Hershey Highway. So in the beginning, they take you through the steamy, misty clouds. And of course, it's by Warner Brothers. Then they reveal the penis pillar tower of the Chocolate Factory from the Willy Wonka. And then they take you down the chocolate hole, or the Hershey Highway, down the rabbit hole. Then at the end it shows the tower, or the phallic willy, ejaculating. This is all blatant proof of the Illuminati's sick, satanic, disgusting, debaucherous, pedophiliac, gay agenda.
I never expected to have so much in common. Moms and dads.
I take a long stick and start poking around in a big chocolate mixing barrel.
Hey, by the way, did you guys know that chocolate contains a property that triggers the release of endorphins, gives one the feeling of being in love?
For your information, little girl, whipped cream isn't whipped cream at all unless it's been whipped with whips.
Whipped cream isn't whipped cream at all unless it's been whipped with whips.
You can suck on it all year, and it'll never get any smaller.
They're gonna squeeze her. We gotta squeeze all that juice out of her immediately.
Don't touch that squirrel's nuts. It'll make him crazy.
Now, go ahead, try it. Oh. Wait a minute. Must show you this. Lickable wallpaper for nursery walls. Lick an orange, it tastes like an orange. Lick a pineapple, it tastes like a pineapple. Go ahead, try it. Oh.
I got a plum. Grandpa, this banana's fantastic. It tastes so real.
Try some more. The strawberries taste like strawberries. The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Snozberries? Who ever heard of a snozberry?
We are the music makers. And we are the dreamers of dreams.
She may be stuck in the chute just below the top. If that's the case, all you have to do is just reach in and pull her out. I'd rather not talk about this one.
Young men are extremely springy. They stretch like math.
Young men are extremely springy. They stretch like math.
Wonder how that pipe is big enough.
It's a wonder how that pipe is big enough. That pipe is big enough. flesh, pink and plump. Hello, little girl. Tender and fresh, not one lump. Hello, little girl. This one's especially lush, delicious. Hello, little girl. What's your rush? You're missing all the flowers. Take your time. Sat straight ahead, not blind or be misled. So little girl, hark and hush. The birds are singing sweetly. You'll miss the verse completely. You're traveling so fleetly. Grandmother first, then Miss Plump. Was it an accidental couple? I'll take profession, one Brit, one supple, one hundred. Come on, may follow the path and never stray. Just so little girl. Any path. So many worth exploring. This one will be so boring because you're ignoring. Think of those crisp, aching bones and something fresh on the palate. Think of that scrumptious carnality twice in one day. There's no possible way to describe what you feel when you're talking to your meal.
You have to get down on your knees to receive the sacred cream, to receive the fluid onto your head, to get anointed with the sacred fluid, with the cream, the milk, the oil, to the land of milk and honey. What's the only substance that is sticky like honey, the consistency of honey, and is the color of milk? What is the only substance? It's the sacred secretion. It is the semen, from where we get the words like seminary, seminal. Seminary literally means a breeding ground, from seminarius, meaning of seed, literally from semen. The genitive is semenis, seed. The semen, the seed. The cum, meaning with or together. Meaning school for training priests, commonly used for any school, but especially academies for young ladies, literally a breeding ground. And this is why in the Catholic churches, this is why we find the pedophilia. This is why they're always associated with the children and the sex scandals, the pedophilia, the sex trafficking. Most religious terminology and symbology is rooted and stems from the seed, or seminal, literally from the seed of ancient fertility rites, rites of passage, and sex.
Are you ready to leave all this behind and come live with me at the factory?
Sure, of course. I mean, it's alright if my family come too.
Oh my dear boy, of course they can't.
Separating them from the parents, which renders them vulnerable and renders them property of the state, a ward of the state, which is what the entire agenda is about disrupting the family unit, breaking the home, and rendering the children vulnerable and helpless to child trafficking at the hands of the state, of these high-level state officials. Supposedly a letter released as a sort of dead man's trigger, allegedly written by Chester Bennington before his death and released as a sort of, again, dead man's trigger after his death, implicating high levels of government child trafficking, reads as follows. Open letter to the Los Angeles music industry and law enforcement agencies. Recently, I have obtained evidence implicating several popular recording artists in the promotion of a child sex ring in the United States. The artists in question are hugely popular and have used their social media platforms to directly promote serialized ritual abuse, also SRA, also known by the FBI as satanic ritual abuse, a horrific practice that no major North American or European government has yet acknowledged as an epidemic of monstrous proportions. I must reiterate that one of the artists is so popular that their proven involvement in SRA activity could have disastrous implications for the Los Angeles music industry. Evidence implicating several nightclubs, record labels, concert technicians, and recording artists goes far beyond the conjectural limitations of online investigation and directly implicates many individuals in these heinous practices. Thousands of average citizens from across the political spectrum have put in selfless time to expose the crimes of VIP human trafficking rings in their own communities. But little has been done to confront the most powerful perpetrators and to address their ability to run massive smuggling, trafficking, and pedophilia operations, some of which have been funded and protected by organizations in the State Department. In fact, members of the State Department and members of the establishment media have used their platform to cover for the accused, including some who have ridiculed investigators and branded them as anti-Semitic or bigoted for interrogating the glaring evidence of ritual abuse among political circles around the world. Not only are they accomplices to this Holocaust of children, they have used their role as a gatekeeper to covertly promote child kidnapping in Haiti and the Donetsk region of Ukraine under the guise of medical philanthropy. In other words, organizations such as the Red Cross. The evidence will also identify several art organizations and collectors as being directly involved in human and organ trafficking, as well as their close involvement with several venues in Los Angeles, Oklahoma City, Austin, Marfa, Brooklyn, and Washington, D.C. Pay attention to this. The evidence will also identify several art organizations and collectors as being directly involved in human and organ trafficking. Hence, we have Marina Abramovich, a well-known ritual satanic art purveyor and performance artist, as well as Tony Podesta, a well-known avant-garde art collector of the Manson-style, ancient Mayan-style human sacrifice position, of the augur, the sacrificial augur. The primary reason for issuing this warning is, given the individuals who appear to be logistically involved in these crimes, there is reason to believe that the motives behind two major European terror attacks committed by may be being concealed by intelligence agencies. And given the many suspicious factors suggesting foul play in the death of Chris Cornell, as well as the massive amount of evidence implicating one of his former record labels in a worldwide pedophile ring, I want to give the opportunity to someone with the power to exact change to take a stand and take courage against the abuse cults which have tainted the politics and culture of the Western world. Here are my demands. I will give 48 hours for police or proper authorities in either Los Angeles, Austin, Washington, D.C., Richmond, Virginia, Marfa, Oakland, or Seattle to acknowledge the presence of a human trafficking and pedophile ring closely aligned with the music industry and the contemporary art community. Acknowledgement by the proper authorities that VIP figures from multiple countries, including the United States, are closely tied to Ukrainian adoption agency and neonatal institution involved in global human trafficking network. If any public figure with direct knowledge of VIP abuse either surrenders or comes forward to police, I will withhold the information for the time being. If not one of these demands are met, documented evidence that several prominent musicians actively involved in promoting and committing SRA/organ trafficking with direct evidence of involvement. Fully documented evidence of SRA locations in cities mentioned in the demands. Full exposure of SRA locations owned by Fortune 500 bank. All information pertaining to revolver and gun clubs existing in Los Angeles nightclubs. Evidence of pedophilia from ritual abuse located in Los Angeles with the full list of musicians who have actively promoted it. Exposure of several dozen art galleries involved in the human trafficking ring. Exposure of several artists and journalists closely involved with the satanic ritual abuse cult in New York City. Evidence of Dennis Hastard's involvement in existing DC child abuse ring. Full exposure of bands/record labels involved with Arana/Spider trafficking group. Families around the world need to know that they and their children are safe and that the participants of this horrid culture of abuse and control will be swiftly brought to justice. I am asking for a proper authority to take the reins and make history for the better. #ItEndsNow. Written by Code Swordfish on July 22nd, 2017. At least that's when the alleged letter was dated. Now, whether this was written by Chester Bennington or not is irrelevant, because the implications that it reveals are staggering and are entirely true. To fully understand this on a level and a depth that most people do not comprehend, you need to watch my friend Christopher Lord, Trutheracy House of Wisdom's full documentary exposing this cult and the symbolism behind the Hollywood ritual abuse cult and the motives and the tactics behind it. on a deeper level than anyone has covered, involving the satanic ritual abuse and Pizzagate child trafficking pedophile rings in high levels in the highest echelons of government, politics, law enforcement, music, film, and Hollywood industries. Another sink that I find highly potent is the fact that Robin Williams, Chris Cornell, and Chester Bennington all committed suicide by the very same method of hanging from the doorway. The cause of death would be asphyxiation or strangulation. All of these people can be depicted with their pugs, which was a therapy dog used to help assist them through trauma, abuse, anxiety, and to relieve stress of their depression. The pug is also, in this case, I would allude to a symbol of strangulation or asphyxiation, the struggle to breathe. Symbolically, because pugs are a short-nosed breed, implicated in trouble with breathing. They struggle with airway constriction, in other words, asphyxiation. So in this case, the pug is a symbolic representation of foreshadowing of the cause of their deaths, being strangulation or asphyxiation. Do not misunderstand me. This is merely a sync of the facts. The facts are these celebrities died from the same cause of death, which is asphyxiation or strangulation, the struggle of breathing. The pug is a symbol of struggle because they suffer from breathing problems. And in this way, I allude this to being a symbolic representation, the same way that the orange is a symbolic representation of foreshadowing of death in the Godfather series. So no, again, all I'm saying is that it's just a synchronistic symbol, a casting or foreshadowing of death, just as the orange is. So I'm not, again, suggesting that there's any connection between the pugs and actually causing their murders or anything like that. That's not what I'm intending to infer, which is what a lot of people tried to make a straw man argument against when I posted this on Facebook years ago. But this is just another hilarious and interesting sync, is that the Mops Orden is literally the Order of the Pug, which was a paramasonic society founded by Roman Catholics. It's believed that it was founded in 1740 by Clemens August of Bavaria to bypass the papal bull in Eminenti Apostolatus of 1738. So again, the Mops Orden, or the pug, was actually considered a symbol of enlightenment during this revolutionary period in France by association to such as Voltaire and other free thinkers, because the pug became associated, the Mops Orden became a proxy group for the Freemasons after being banned and outlawed by the Pope. So basically, the pug, by association to Freemasonry, became the symbol of free thinking and enlightenment outside of religious dogmas. The Constitution of the Order of the Pug allowed women to become members as long as they were Catholic. The pug was chosen as the symbol of loyalty, trustworthiness, and steadiness. But again, more frequently, the pug is known as the symbol of struggle and suffering and death by asphyxiation, because they are known as the short breeds for breathing problems, massive struggle to breathe due to obstructed airways, which can be potentially fatal. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to consider this video. If you appreciate the implications that I'm sharing in these presentations and in my videos on my channel, please share it around. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell notification. That way you're not missing any notifications from my channel. YouTube is highly censoring my content. Facebook is even more highly censoring my content. They are not showing my content to any of my subscribers. So the only way to bypass the censorship of social media, since I don't have my actual website, my own website up yet, I archive all of my work on patreon.com/liftingtheveil. Please subscribe to get notifications directly from that site. That way you can receive email updates on all of my presentations and research articles, as well as my posts and updates. That way you're not missing anything that is being eliminated through algorithms from social media. And that will give you email notifications for all of my work there as well. Stay tuned. I've got so many more mind-blowing, massive, monumental, life-changing presentations coming out, literally breaking down the entire fabric and the structure of reality itself. And I don't say that lightly. So thank you so much for your time, guys. This is Cullen Smith. You're watching Lifting the Veil, and I'll see you soon. Much love.